Our next presentation is from Pierre Couture. Pierre is an account executive with computer manufacturer Lenovo, and he's responsible for media and entertainment in North America. Before joining Lenovo, he spent time at HP and Autodesk. And I just want to tell you, I've been a devoted Mac user since the early 80s, pretty much from the beginning. And but lately, sometimes I feel like they devote too much attention to their eye products and don't pay much heed to us professionals. And Pierre's going to tell us about an alternative.
Thank you so much, James. Every day I meet customers, either in editorial, visual effects, animation, and they have one common question that's very hard, either small or large enterprise, is to basically say, I have a piece of hardware, it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, and I don't know what's next. My friend John have something, he bought $5,000, is it good for me? So it's very hard for customer today to say, you know, what's good for me, depending if you're doing editorial, color grading, visual effects, or animation. So I want to cover 2 topics today. I'm going to make it very simple. I want to talk about the present, which I call choices. And I want to talk very, very briefly at the end about future, because I don't have a crystal ball, but I have an idea of what's coming next. So choices. Today we can do 4K at a very, very affordable price, almost entry-level style. We can do Thunderbolt is a technology that's available on PC, not just on Macintosh. And also you can transit or at least convert all of your Thunderbolt technology, either storage or adapter, to a PC. So just to make that clear at that point that this is something that's available. A recent announcement from Microsoft, there is a new Microsoft Windows 10 OS that's just been released in October of this year that bring a few additional benefits to the general workstation class. And basically there are specifics about security level, better backup enhancement, and also data transfer, faster data transfer, and some other nice features. So this is something that's been launched probably 2-3 weeks ago. And we also see other benefit and announcement coming soon. And also today, we can support up to 2 terabytes of memory in Workstation, and that also needed a little bit tweaks on the Microsoft aspect, which is available. And also there's other, as I said, choices. There's also options in the Linux environment. There's a great deal of customers who have decided to go on the Linux-based OS platform, because there's many software today that's available on those. And as any good PC vendor, we also support Red Hat, Ubuntu, CentOS as a major Linux operating system. So I want to catch your eyes on this. It's a very basic demonstration. I guess you're going to find that a little bit funny, but I want to make a statement here about the application side. Look at the top of that slide. I'm going to switch it. You're going to see what's going to happen. See my no hands. It's the exact same environment. Either you're working on Windows or Mac. Once you are in your application, either the Adobe suite, Avid, Blackmagic, once you open the application, which is going to be most of what you're going to do, the OS is kind of behind the scene. So I want to make another statement about the application. It's all about what you guys are doing more than anything else. As any good user, most of the time we don't want to look under the hood, but I want to very briefly open the hood for you guys to show you a few things that's happened over the last few years. Let's say you have a map, either a physical map or an electronic map, and you're going to highway and you have a choice to take the 55 miles per hour or the 80 miles per hour 4-lane highway. Which one are you going to pick? Of course, you're going to take the faster one, but that's just the beginning of it. How about you go and you have 12 lanes instead of 4 at that speed? That's a very easy choice, and this is what we offer today. So don't want to go too much on the speed and feed, but this is a representation or an analogy of what's under the hood today. So a 3-4 year old technology will use what we call a 4 memory channel. That's what you have on the left. And also those channel are slower. Today we offer up to 12 channel, not only on a single CPU, but on a dual CPU on a workstation class. So if you make the math, 12 divided by 4, what's that? Well, that's not 3, that's 4, because if you count for the speed of each of those channels, it's a 4x performance increase. What does that mean for you? Every time you do something, opening the computer, opening an app, transferring files, all that go through the CPU at some point, way or another, and you get that 4x performance increase in the current architecture. Same thing with cores. Not every application will use all the cores all the time. That's a known fact. Most software developers are working on implementing additional benefits. But today, those who are rendering based, transcoding, are using those core most likely. And you still have that 4x benefit on the current technology. So I want to make clear that there's a very different analogy between the memory speed or the memory bandwidth that's available and the number of cores. These are two things that happen at different stage of the application, but they're both somewhat related. And of course, if we leave the hood open a little bit, as you can see, there's lots of modularity, and there's not much cables in the way. I think this is probably an old thinking that the PC is all cramped with ugly cables and ugly design. So we're very proud at Lenovo to have a very, very modular and toolless architecture and technology. The drive are using bays that you can remove drive from them. The power supply can be removed just by snapping out. So if there's any repair needs to be done by you or certified technician, this will be extremely simple and extremely quick. And of course, choices also mean that you have a very wide range of PCI adapter, either maybe video related, audio related, storage, network. These are all compliant with PCIe-based cards. I just took a few here just to remind you of the different form factor. All of those would generally fit in a standard class workstation. So you can upgrade your hardware towards your different projects. Of course, none of that would be very efficient without a classic graphic card, which we call GPU. And at Lenovo, we offer a very wide range of graphic cards, either be pro graphic or consumer-based graphic. This is something that's quite popular nowadays, either from NVIDIA or AMD. So there's a quite range of cards that also can be retrofit and also be done or added as a multiple. That being said, another trend that we're seeing today is multi-GPU. More than one actual physical card will allow better performance or higher capacity of performance for 3D, but also for rendering. Giving you a scoop of what I'm going to talk later about the future, but there is a trend on GPU rendering, or just more capacity for GPU. So those architecture can support a very wide range of multi-graphic cards. The storage is probably the place that's been probably gone through lots of enhancement over the last few years. That's been growing very, very fast. So what you've probably been very familiar with is the SATA connector that we've been using for the last 15 years, either hardware spinning drive or SSD drive. The new trend nowadays, and you've seen this in your laptops and your tablets, and now on workstation class, which is the NVMe storage. It's basically a PCI connection on storage on the workstation. So there's two form factor. They perform very similar. So the M.2 and the U.2. So the U.2 kind of look like a SATA drive, but it's connected directly on the motherboard to the CPU. Same thing with the M.2, it's just two different form factor. But we offer both of them today in our workstation. And again, because of the protocol of communication between the SATA ports and the NVMe, there's a 4-time faster bandwidth on the M.2 or U.2. What does that mean? Well, you can play back today 4K uncompressed raw file on a computer without spending lots of dollars, because the price per gigabyte between an M.2 and a regular SATA, it's almost at parity. It will be at parity next year. So there's no need to expend, to spend a lot of money to get to that storage. Going a little bit further in what had just been announced a few months ago, which is a multi-M.2 RAID capacity. So prior generation, we could put isolated M.2 or U.2 storage, so they all look like a separate storage device. Now we can blend them together, make it like a larger one unique volume, which is much nicer when you work with your application. You have one bin and everything is stored at the same location, although they might be stored in different form factor. They all are blended together in a very nice, easy RAID controller. And that's also just been introduced with the new Intel architecture. So that's pretty much what I want to talk about the present. So let's have a very quick glance at what's happening in the future. Basically, if you look at these physical device, I don't know about you guys, but for me, they kind of look similar. Not so much about the connectivity, but the way they look and feel. Well, basically, this is what's going to happen next year. We're going to basically merge the two together. This is an Intel technology where the RAM and storage will kind of going to blend. It's kind of obvious from the form factor. So for a user, basically, you're going to put some kind of a device in your workstation, and it can be used to store your data or to have more RAM for larger files. And you will be able to mix between the two. So that's something that's going to be announced next year. Another aspect, as I touched on earlier, is the GPU-based rendering. This is a new thing where if you do rendering today, most likely you're going to use the CPU or a rendering farm that's been filled with lots of server with CPU. What the GPU-based render will provide is much more power at a lower cost because the GPU is designed to handle more tasks per dollar, if you will. So there's many option. I've just picked two that are probably the most popular, Redshift and Otoy. But this is a trend we're seeing, and that is basically a post-process. So I want to make sure we clarify the difference between this and the next one, which is real-time rendering. And that's a new thing that's been basically gone from the game industry that's actually going to be blended into our post-production in our production environment where you could look at a full 3D scene in real time. It's basically, when you look at those software, you have a timeline and we have like complete 3D scenes with texture and characters and lights, and you can press play, and while it's playing, you can move the camera around 3D scenes. It basically is going to be used in many aspects. Media entertainment is the number one, but it's going to be used in design and other aspects. But what I think is going to be nice about this is we talked earlier today about previs. And this is really, really nice when you can, with the director and the rest of the crew, look at the complete scene from end to end and then be able to move the camera around and then fix that scene for the rest of the production. So this is something we're going to see more and hear more about in the very near future. Very briefly touch on the actual hardware. The first one on the left side is the smallest workstation today that exists on the market. It's we call our workstation in volume. So it's a 1 liter box that have a GPU from NVIDIA. And then you can go up from that lower end all the way to the very, very end of that spectrum and grow with your needs. And then you can go all the way to 2 terabytes of memory, 3 GPU. And we also offer mobile workstation that can support VR ready today. So for more info, you can certainly look at the website. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.